And welcome back to another episode of Born to Talk About Sports. I am your host, Steve Bourne. So, what do you want to all talk about today? I don't know. Let's just run it up the gut here. Let's see what we're cooking with. Of course, I'm referencing Buffalo's big blowout win last evening against the Dallas Cowboys. They're 31-10. Wasn't even that close. Buffalo brought in the reserves with about 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter. As a Bills fan, I'm ecstatic. They beat the Cowboys. Josh Allen is 2-0 against Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys since he's come into the league. I think the big thing to take about this is Dallas was not prepared. They were not prepared for the run, even though the weather dictated it was going to rain that all Sunday in Buffalo. And Dallas did not prepare for a running game. And usually when it's raining, you run the ball because the ball is a little too slippery to catch or throw. This was terrible coaching by Dallas more than anything else. The game plan was terrible. Give credit to Buffalo's defense. I think with Buffalo getting the ball first but able to run the ball down Dallas's throat and score to go 7-0 early really set the tone, because Dallas was playing catch up from the first possession on, and Buffalo's defense knew what to do. They pressured Dak when they did. Dallas took a lot of stupid penalties, and it cost them either the rough in the passer with a forearm shiver to Allen, or just lunging at the punter like you're going for a giant bear hug. And if you're going to lunge yourself in the air to block a punt, make sure you get the damn ball. If not, Buffalo got the ball back. Sure enough, James Cook does what he does best. And guarantee you, he's got the AFC Offensive Player of the Week pretty much written in his back pocket at this point. But is Buffalo a Super Bowl contender? They still aren't even in a playoff spot yet. Their schedule is very favorable. Very favorable. They've got the Chargers on Saturday night in Inglewood, California. But let's face it, the Chargers just gave up 60 to the Oakland Raiders. Yeah, the Chargers. They were saying on one of the broadcasts yesterday, right? Now the Chargers kind of look like a college football team at this point. Then they've got the New England Patriots at home for the final home game of the year. It's a revenge game after New England upset them earlier in this year. But ever since Buffalo's made the offensive coordinator change, Josh Allen has the reins lifted off him. He's running the ball more. And Buffalo right now, since they made the offensive coordinator change, they're 3-1, and that one loss was to the Eagles in overtime in Philly. So it's a bit of an excusable loss. That being said, though, they're still chasing Miami for the division. If Miami's got they've got a lot tougher schedule. They've got Dallas at home, then they go to Baltimore, their next two, and then the final week of the year is at home to Buffalo. And if Buffalo takes care of their business and Miami loses one of those two, that's for the division and possibly a playoff spot. Loser goes home, winner gets the second seed. So the AFC, and you just got the logjam with 8 and 6 teams with Cincy, Indy, Buffalo, and Houston. And then you've got Pittsburgh at 7-7 down there as well. So I mean, in the AFC playoff picture, it's even in the NFC, you got a bunch of 7-7 teams with the Rams, the Vikings, the Saints, and if the Seahawks pull off the upset tonight against Philly, right now Jalen Hurts is still listed as questionable with the flu. So again, the NFL playoff format is continuing to just get more exciting, and everything's gonna come down to that final week. Nothing will be decided until that final week. So just keep your eyes up on that. In hockey this weekend, really nothing the only really thing that kind of surprised me was Leafs without Matthews made, pardon my language, made the Penguins their bitch. Leafs beat Pittsburgh 7-0. Matthews was out with the flu. TJ Brody, defenseman, out with the flu. And the Leafs' young guns, led by Matthew Nyes with the Gordie Howe hat trick. And in case you don't know what a Gordie Howe hat trick, it's a goal, a fight, and assist. And Matthew Nyes was the first Leaf to do that. I think they said since like 2015, Daniel Winnick in the rebuilding year. So it's been a while since that happened. But they said that was the only thing that really caught my eye. Florida's back in the win column with a nice 5-2 win. Edmonton, after winning 8 straight, has dropped 2 in a row now. Edmonton can't afford to go into another funk, so they need to snap out of this quickly. Then you've got last night, Ottawa. I don't know how they're doing this. This is the second straight game where they faced a pretty good team in Vegas after losing to Dallas on Friday night. Second time they've played a team where their starting goalie has to leave the game due to injury, and they're facing an ice-cold goalie, and they blow it. They were up on Dallas 3-1. Ottinger gets hurt. Dallas comes back and wins. They were up on Vegas last night. Vegas comes back and wins. I'm going to keep saying it till it happens. Ottawa needs a coaching change. I don't care how nice of a guy DJ Smith is. He's not the guy for this team. I'm going to keep harping on this until it happens. Ottawa's got to fire Smith. They just don't respond to him. I don't care. Like I said, he might be the greatest guy in the world, but clearly he's not the right coach for this team. I mean, the only thing that, from my understanding, that's saving his job right now is there's an interim GM who doesn't want to make a coaching decision. But Steve Staios has to make that decision, that you either promote the guy from Belleville, your AHL affiliate, or just promote one of the assistants as an interim basis. Because I'm sure Otto's played the fewest amount of games in the league, but if you look at the standings, they're starting to catch up on the games in hand, but they're still at the bottom. They've lost 4 straight in regulation, and it's just not getting any better. They're not getting a timely save, and I mean they're not getting the clutch scoring. Tkachuk is pretty much doing everything he can single-handedly. Tim Stützle's completely disappeared. Tarasenko, I think, is showing that he's washed up. If you're Ottawa, you're looking probably to sell Tarasenko at the deadline if you can get anything for him, even like a 3rd or a 4th round pick. Because right now Tarasenko's a 3rd liner. Gone from an elite goal scorer into the league just about 4 or 5 years ago to now he's basically the equivalent of a Leafs freaking Kalle Järnkrok, or even worse. So, like I said, I'm going to keep harping on it. Ottawa needs to make that coaching change. Out west is probably the best time to do it before you come back home, because the last thing you want is more fired DJ chance, and it's not fair to him. It's not fair to the team. Now, going to the NBA, the question is out there right now, 22 straight losses now for the Detroit Pistons. Are they the worst team in NBA history? I mean, Cade Cunningham he's one guy, but this team is just, they can't defend. They're giving up 125 plus points a game. They can score a little bit. They put up 111 on Milwaukee, and they're putting up 110 points a game, but they just can't defend. I don't care. The coaching change, it's irrelevant at this point. They just brought in a new coach. They're not going to make a change this quickly. And coaching change obviously won't settle anything. I mean, right now, the worst losing percentage in NBA history was the Charlotte Bobcats in the, I believe, 2012 season. It was, I believe it was around there when they had the half season after a half season lockout. 2011, 2012, somewhere around there. And I think it was like in a 50-game season, they only won like 6 games or something like that. And that goes down as the worst losing percentage in NBA history. But at this point, does anybody see the the Pistons even winning 10 games this year. I mean, like I said, it's sad to watch. I'm surprised anybody shows up at Little Caesars Arena to watch these guys, unless it's the attraction from the other star players from the other team. Like Milwaukee comes in there, you're not there to see the Pistons. You're there to see Giannis and Damian Lillard with the Hornets, not the Hornets, but the Pelicans. You're there to see Zion. Even though the Spurs are awful, you still want to see Wembanyama. It's really sad. I know I've been harping on this like last week as well, but are the Pistons really the worst team in NBA history? I think it is something to talk about because their schedule, they're 3 away from the all-time record, longest losing streak in NBA history, and I think they shatter it. Right now, at this point, unless things don't turn around for the Pistons, I see them going at best 9-73, which would be by a mile the worst record in an 82-game season, and probably the worst losing percent or winning percentage in NBA history. And so right now, I mean, I've heard of tanking for the first overall pick, but this is ridiculous. And I don't think they're tanking. I just think they're that bad. This is a bad G League team playing in the NBA. So again, it's like watching a bad car crash. You don't want to look, but you kind of do just to see how bad it is. And right now with the Pistons, that's the way I feel. Some news around Major League Baseball free agency this weekend. Arizona Diamondbacks brought back Lourdes Gurriel Jr. on a 3-year deal at $14 million per. Not bad. Guy hit .260 in the regular season with 24 home runs, but was big for them in the playoffs, hitting up over .270 in the playoffs. Guy's got one of the best arms for a left fielder out there. Jays fans know all about him. He was the other key piece. He was one of the other players going to Arizona in the ill-fated Gabriel Marino and Gurriel trade for Dalton Varsho, which worked out a lot better for the Diamondbacks than it did for the Blue Jays. But again, it's that 1 year. Who knows what happens? I mean, catchers can have a great year next 1 year, and a lot of catchers can be injury prone. So, I mean, I'm not saying Gabriel's going to get hurt, but I'm just saying though that after 1 year, right now it looks like one of the worst trades in Blue Jays history. But again, the Jays are playing the long-term game. Well, both sides are playing the long-term game, so we'll see what goes from there. But congratulations on Gurriel on his 3-year deal. And he's got I believe there's a team option or a player option. He can opt out after 2. Royals got a little busy this weekend, bringing in Hunter Renfroe and Michael Wacha. Both could, I mean, if the Royals don't go anywhere this year, which is pretty much likely, those guys are trade bait as well. So this is the interesting time in free agency where you see a lot of these lesser teams sign these decent role players to 1-year deals so they can build on their team. And they're pretty much telling these guys, we're going to sign you for the 1 year, but we'll flip you to a contender at the deadline. And so that's again not much other to report, or not to report, but to mention. There's some talk that Cody Bellinger wants a $200 million deal. 1 good year in the last 4. Good luck with that. If I were the Jays, I'd say, sure, give you 10 years at $200 million total. However, club option after 5. We'll give you 5 years. If you can't turn it around, we'll terminate your contract. And I think that with somebody like Bellinger, who's only had 1 good year in his last 4, expecting anything over 8-10 years without a team option is a little insane. But yeah, that's about it. Like I said, just quickly review. Buffalo, big win. Probably the biggest upset win of the weekend, considering they were 2.5 point favorites and blew out the Cowboys. But are they a Super Bowl contender? They have to get into the playoffs first. If Buffalo gets in, I can see them doing some serious damage. But I'm not going to declare them an official Super Bowl contender until they're actually in a playoff spot. I still say Baltimore's the team to beat in the AFC. Miami, even though what they did without Tyreek against the Jets, it's the Jets who had no offensive line. Zach Wilson and Trevor Siemian were thrown to the Wolves. And then Kansas City, they don't have any receivers. I don't care. They just beat New England. Big deal. And then Jacksonville, or whoever comes out of the South, Jacksonville or Houston. Yeah. So hopefully you found this informative, a little fun, and something to talk about. Again, leave comments if you think the Pistons are probably the worst team in NBA history. Tell me what you think about the Sens. Do you guys agree with me that I think DJ Smith needs to be let go? If anything, for a mercy firing in Ottawa. And what y'all think of the Leafs blowout over Pittsburgh minus their best goal scorer? Have a good one out there. Stay safe. And until tomorrow, take it easy.